Elizabeth Hendrickson had never been one to sit still, not in her dressing room on the set of The Young and the Restless, not in the car during long commutes, not even in her own living room when the day wound down and most people would gratefully melt into the couch. Restlessness wasn't a flaw for her. It was fuel. It was the itch of an artist who always wondered what else she could bring to life. But this morning, as she stepped into the cavernous new soundstage in downtown Los Angeles, she stopped short. And for once breathed. The air smelled like fresh sawdust, neatly painted canvas, and the faint trace of coffee someone had spilled earlier in the rush of first-day energy. But beneath it all was something intangible, possibility. A new beginning. A new chapter that felt just unbelievable enough to be what she called her pinch-me moment. Elizabeth smiled to herself, running a hand over the cool steel of a light rig as the crew hurried past her, arms full of cables and equipment. It wasn't every day that an actor, especially one known for a beloved soap character, found herself stepping into a world entirely different, yet somehow familiar. Today marked the start of her debut as the lead in an upcoming streaming drama series, Second Sunrise, a project that had quietly been in development for years. And the crazy part? They wanted her. Specifically, no audition, no chemistry read, just an enthusiastic call from the showrunner telling her, "We wrote this with you in mind." That alone had blown her away. She found her name on the door of her new trailer, Elizabeth Hendrickson. "Marley Quinn," and laughed softly. "Marley Quinn," she whispered, rolling the name around in her mind. A former trauma nurse turned crisis investigator. Tough, 6 steps ahead of everyone else, but wounded in a way that made the unraveling of each episode more gripping. A soap girl playing a gritty investigator, she mused. Let's see them underestimate me now. Her phone buzzed. It was her longtime friend and co-star, Melissa Claire Egan. "MCE, you're on set yet. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you eating breakfast? Call me." Elizabeth chuckled. "Some things," she said aloud, "never change." Before she could type back, a voice echoed across the soundstage. There she is, the woman of the hour. The voice belonged to Jonah Wells, the director, known for his sharp eye and terrifyingly honest feedback. He strode toward her with the confident energy of a man who lived on movie sets and caffeine alone. "You ready to meet Marley's world?" he asked. "Born ready," she answered, though her stomach fluttered. He led her through the labyrinth of sets. What looked from the outside like plain wood boxes revealed intricately detailed interiors. Marley's apartment with mismatched furniture, the emergency operations office with blinking monitors and worn-in desks, even a cliffside road they use for green screen driving scenes. And then she saw it, a recreation of a small-town medical clinic, complete with scuffed floors, outdated posters, and a cracked window that told its own story. "This," Jonah said, "is where your character's journey begins and ends and breaks and rebuilds." Elizabeth stepped inside. Something in her chest tightened, not fear but recognition. This was the role she had waited for, something textured, emotional, layered. The kind of character who wasn't defined by perfect hair or clever one-liners, but by grit, by heart. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Jonah grinned. "And wait until you see who's playing opposite you." "Oh." He gave her a mischievous look. "Let's just say you've worked with him before." Her mind sifted through a list of possible names, co-stars from past soaps, primetime guest roles, indie projects. But before she could guess, the clinic door creaked open. And in walked Greg Ricart, her longtime friend and frequent on-screen adversary. Elizabeth's jaw dropped. "No way." Greg laughed, arms open. Surprise. They hugged, both talking at once, both overwhelmed. It felt like a homecoming, but in a brand new house. "I can't believe you didn't tell me," she said. "You think I knew," Greg replied. "Jonah called me 2 months ago, said he had this incredible lead already attached and wanted to build a dynamic around us. And honestly, how could I say no?" The two fell immediately into easy banter, recalling old scenes from Young and Restless, the ones where they'd sparred as rivals or shared tense, emotional moments. But this felt different, adult, elevated. So, Greg said, nudging her, how's it feel to be the star? Elizabeth shrugged, though inside she felt buzzing electricity. Ask me after I try not to trip over a cable in front of the entire crew. Deal. The first scene of the day was an emotionally heavy one. Marley Quinn, still grieving the traumatic failure that ended her nursing career, confronted the local sheriff for burying a case she knew had deeper implications. As the cameras rolled, Elizabeth felt something shift inside her. This was Chloe Mitchell. This wasn't scripted melodrama with perfect bite and soapy rhythm. This was raw, grounded, deep. She tapped into something buried, a fear of not being enough, a desire to protect others, and the quiet resilience she'd grown through her years in the industry. Every breath, every glance, every tremble of her fingers belonged not to Elizabeth Hendrickson, but to Marley Quinn. When Jonah finally called, "Cut!" the silence that followed was thick. Then the crew erupted in applause. Elizabeth blinked rapidly, absorbing the moment. It wasn't an award show, but it felt like one. A validation, a breakthrough. Jonah approached her, pride shining in his eyes. "You weren't good," he said, pausing dramatically. "Oh no," she joked. "Here it comes." "You were extraordinary." The words settled over her like sunlight. Extraordinary. A word she'd always hoped to hear for something wholly her own. Hours later, after shooting wrapped for the day, Elizabeth sat alone in her trailer, the glow of the setting sun warming the small space. She opened her journal, a habit she'd started years ago, and wrote 3 simple words. "Pinch me, please." Because today didn't feel real. It felt like a dream her younger self might have scribbled on a vision board. A chapter of her career that wasn't defined by where she'd been, but where she was boldly, fearlessly going. The door knocked softly. Greg peeked in. "Dinner, or are you still basking in your glory?" "A little of both," she said, closing her journal with a smile. "But dinner sounds perfect." As they stepped onto the lot, the last bit of sunlight disappearing behind them, Elizabeth inhaled deeply. New roles came with risks, new chapters with uncertainty. But this one, this incredible shimmering moment, felt exactly right. And as she walked forward, she didn't need to pinch herself anymore. She knew she was awake,